Who has kids who played soccer? Anyone? Yeah. Okay. Got a few hands. All right. Me too. Imagine a sunny day in the fall, watching those kids out on the soccer field. The sky's blue, kind of like today. The leaves are red and yellow and orange. Imagine those kids kicking that soccer ball, especially the younger ones, while they cluster up in the middle, and they're in that big one group. You can imagine that. You also see those parents yelling for their kids, not yelling at their kids, but yelling for their kids. And then sometimes you may be thinking, gosh, it's a Saturday. I really need to do some projects at home. One time, I was at a soccer game. I saw two players sitting on the bench, and they were talking about this one parent. He had his cell phone open, his laptop was up, and he was cheering for his son. This one player told the other player, he said, I can't believe that dad comes to his son's game and spends the entire time on his cell phone. Who was the parent they were snickering about? It was me. Yes, it was me. Ouch. But I'm not the only one. I have a client who got into a great college, got a great job, has a great family. Everything seemed like it was going great for him. Yet, he was in an endless cycle of rushing around. He wasn't completing projects. He always felt like he was behind. He wasn't able to focus. He wasn't spending quality time with his family. And most importantly, he didn't have quiet time for himself. If you saw him, you'd think he had an addiction, and he did. What was he addicted to? Technology. He was addicted to digital distractions. What if in the next 10 minutes you learned not only the source and cost of digital distractions, but also one strategy for overcoming them? So I've got a quiz for you. Do you ever text during a conversation, either at dinner or not at dinner? Never happens. Okay, thank you. Please do my accounting work for me. Okay. Do you ever text while driving? No. Okay. There are a lot of stoplights around here. Do you ever check email or the news while you're talking with someone on the phone?
Guilty, yeah.
Okay, guilty as charged, okay. And finally, first thing in the morning, when you wake up in the morning, do you ever make sure to check emails or text messages or the news before doing anything else, just in case something interesting came in through the night? Yeah. Well, if you're doing that, if you answered yes to a few of these questions, you may be addicted to digital distractions. And if you are addicted to digital distractions, you're probably also working more and doing less. I have a son who struggles with math. Some of you may have had sons or daughters who struggle with math. Or fathers. Thank you. Or fathers. And so, as any good father does, I've hired several math tutors to help him, which has really, really helped. It's been a godsend, actually. And he still struggles, though. One time, I peeked into his room, said, "Hey, how's that math homework going?" He said, "Yeah, Dad, it's going fine. Yeah." Dude, you're on Facebook. Again. I didn't know Facebook had math tutors. Yeah, Dad. It's a new function. Right. Other times he'll be reading. And simultaneously to his reading, he's listening to his music. Or he's watching YouTube videos. Great combination, huh? And then later he'll complain, "Dad, math and reading, they're so hard." And it takes me so long to complete all of my homework. Inwardly, I'll be burning up thinking, if you just focus on your homework, you'd be able to work less and do more. The dirty little secret is, it's not just teenagers who get distracted by digital devices. Adults, all of us, also get distracted. These distractions, they're subtle and they're seductive. They creep into our lives. Have you ever been to a park and you've seen parents watching their kids on the playground while they're fixated on their phones?
Yeah.
Imagine that dad on his deathbed saying to himself, wow, I wish I would have spent more time updating my profile page. Or do you think he'll say, I wish I would have spent more quality time with my child? These distractions, they're so seductive, they're so small, yet they lead you astray. Did you know that every time you swipe your finger across an iPhone, you get a dopamine rush? Apple knows that their devices are addictive, and the users literally get a fix when they're using them. I don't know about you, but when I forget my phone, I feel lost.
Totally.
And if it has my GPS on it, I'm really lost. So I feel lost. According to an article from the New York Times, professionals who forget their phones at home feel cut off and stressed out. Sounds like separation anxiety to me. These digital distractions, they're subtle and seductive. They creep into our lives. Gradually, many professionals become addicted to digital distractions, and then they feel like they just can't escape. Yet there's hope. I've been coaching for over 10 years on time management, and one of the worst time management issues is digital distraction. And so I thought to myself, what can I do? Help my clients, help my friends, help my associates battle digital distractions. So I thought to myself, I'll do some research, which I did. And I created some strategies to overcome and battle digital distraction. In fact, I even wrote a book about it. And many of my clients have found great success using some of these principles. One of my clients, Barbara, she's a CFO. And she's really, really well liked, but she struggles with digital distractions because of her connections and because of all of her employee connections. She's known as the CEO, Chief Emotional Officer. And she lends tremendous support to people. But there's a downside. She's constantly being bombarded with phone calls, emails, text messages, drop-in visitors. After a while, she feels like she's just going to go crazy and explode. You may have felt that same feeling. When she's on the phone, she's always emailing people, texting people, etc., because she's good at multitasking. But it started to catch up with her. To combat all this feeling of being overwhelmed, she'd come in each morning at 5 a.m. and come in every Saturday just to keep up. At this point, her head was starting to explode because she was totally overwhelmed. And she said, David, I'm going crazy. What do I do? I said, Barbara, I've got some ideas for you. And I gave her a copy of my book. Kudos to her, she read it. Which doesn't always happen. Authors always believe that all of our articles and papers get read, but they don't. Kudos to her, she read it. And more importantly, she decided to implement one idea. To focus on one person or one activity at a time. So when she was on the phone She concentrated on the person on the phone, and she resisted the urge to multitask. What was the result? Her calls were shorter, and the other person felt more acknowledged, like they were being actually heard, which they were at this point. Another benefit was she was able to give better and more succinct help. In the end, she was able to work less and do more. Like Barbara, one of the most important strategies in overcoming digital distractions is to focus on one person or one activity at a time. Ask yourselves, am I going to multitask this project? Or am I going to single task this project? Am I going to check emails during a meeting? Or am I going to fully participate in a meeting? Am I going to check the news when I'm on the phone? Or am I going to really listen to the other person when I'm on the phone? Am I going to go to the park to be with my phone? Or am I going to go to the park to be with my child? It's your choice. The next time you start a conversation, begin a meeting, start a project, I challenge you to fully engage in that activity. And I promise you that if you do fully engage in that activity, you'll be able to work less and do more. As the Roman philosopher Publius says, to do two things at once is to do neither. When I was sitting on the sidelines watching my son at a soccer game, I wasn't trying to do two things at once. I was trying to do 10 things at once and doing none of them well. These principles I've learned and developed have helped me and many others break free from digital distractions to be able to work less and do more. Thank you.